Anti-Afro Svengali. We knew something was up with Umar. He became so desperate as to get an interview with any and every loser willing to drop a buck. Well, we really shouldn't be too upset because Umar's a loser. So you just have losers getting together with losers, agreeing to script interviews, canned interviews, 100%. Umar was only after the money. And let's stop here. Is there any problem with people going after money? No. Money is not a sin. Money is not a dirty word. It's how you go about it. And this is some low down dirty shit. Umar only is seeking interviews. Any loser willing to depart with a quick buck, Umar will do an interview. But Umar also will take money from people asking for an interview, and he won't follow through with the interview. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing to Umar. The bottom line is he needs the money. And this is contemporaneous. Look at the date here of the recent child support entries in the court system. Umar Johnson needed money specifically to clear a bench warrant. Is there any sin with needing money to clear a bench warrant? No. A lot of people have issues with warrants in courts. That is not the issue. It's the deceptive manner under which Umar Johnson is going about it. You remember at the beginning of this whole situation where Umar became more prominent about seeking money through the apps. Chief X came on and he said it. He was very straight down to the point. No one would have cared if Umar broke off some of those donations in the early stages and paid child support or gave some to the mother of the children. People wouldn't care. Is that 100% kosher and legal? No. But who's going to complain about that? Nobody was really going to complain about that. But Umar didn't even do that. That's why he started losing support from a lot of these brothers, because he wasn't even helping out with his own kids. What did he do? He got on the airways. You remember this, people, and started giving the name and the location and the name of the caregivers and the name of the child, his own daughter's school. He was so angry about the system, the child support system, telling him, no, you have to pay. And let's get this straight. Child support is not exclusive to black men. Every race, every nationality, every language of people have to pay child support. I deal with these people every day, men and women. It is not exclusive to men. See, this is a tactic that Umar Johnson uses to do what? To get more money. But we're talking about a bench warrant. Yes, another bench warrant. Umar needed to clear that bench warrant because he didn't want to be out and about and risk being taken into custody. And who knows, Umar may have been taken into custody at one point in time. I haven't looked into that. But we know that Umar Johnson is running scared because he does not want to be wrapped up in the system where he is going to be placed in jail, where he'll keep losing his driver's license. This happens to a lot of people. And some people it happens to, they're really struggling to find work. They are literally struggling to find work to pay child support. And they may have some resentment about going to court and having to explain all this. But Umar's a different category. Umar's not even trying to do anything to live up to his responsibilities. He is not even collecting money for the purpose that he says he's collecting money for. He is living off this money. Straight up. And the more time that goes by, the worse it becomes. We have other agencies getting into Umar's shit. This is Umar Johnson's own doing. It's not anyone's fault that he's in the situation that he's in. He took on this in desperation, just like he acquired that damaged set of buildings that will never be in enough repair status to open any school. He will need multi-millions of dollars, and quite possibly he might get a recommendation to condemn the place. It doesn't matter because he has no goal to open up any school. He's going to use any strategy he can to continue to collect money in the here and the now. Umar is about the here and the now. Get me the money now. I will talk to any loser I can if the loser willing to depart with some money. And don't get me up there doing anything other than letting me talk. This is not new. Umar has always had canned interviews, scripted interviews. And the times that he hasn't, we know about those times because he completely loses it. The sister from Detroit who did the interview with Umar, Mrs. Johnson, no relationship to Umar, he flipped out on her. He flipped out on this Jamar person whose father-in-law runs a school. He didn't want anything to do with him other than getting on here and trying to lie because he knew that this person, Jamar, had a bigger platform, and that blew up in his face. He's been on other radio interviews. We start arguing and screaming at people because they didn't follow the script or he thought he can convince them to follow a script. Umar is only out there trying to trick people. There are so many agencies on Umar's ass. He doesn't know if he's coming or going. He needs to see what big gatherings he can get together to increase his chances of getting you set up on an automatic payment plan. He's going to drag this out for as long as he can. He will not be stopped unless the system comes in and says, hey, you owe us this. And they're doing just that. Umar hasn't paid off his taxes. He's telling you bald-faced lies, people. He's nowhere near paying off these taxes. It is just a matter of time. He's up here crying and whining about, oh, they're not going to take the school. There is no school. It's an abandoned bomb shelter. The sister from Detroit who did the interview with Umar, Mrs. Johnson, no relationship to Umar, he flipped out on her. He flipped out on this Jamar person whose father-in-law runs a school. He didn't want anything to do with him other than getting on here and trying to lie because he knew that this person, Jamar, had a bigger platform, and that blew up in his face. He's been on other radio interviews. We start arguing and screaming at people because they didn't follow the script or he thought he can convince them to follow a script. Umar is only out there trying to trick people. There are so many agencies on Umar's ass. He doesn't know if he's coming or going. He needs to see what big gatherings he can get together to increase his chances of getting you set up on an automatic payment plan. He's going to drag this out for as long as he can. He will not be stopped unless the system comes in and says, hey, you owe us this. And they're doing just that. Umar hasn't paid off his taxes. He's telling you bald-faced lies, people. He's nowhere near paying off these taxes. It is just a matter of time. He's up here crying and whining about, oh, they're not going to take the school. There is no school. It's an abandoned bomb shelter. It is an abandoned bomb shelter. There will never be any school in that place. Everybody knows that. We are just here waiting the situation out till Umar Johnson can no longer lie to you all and run these scams and telling you he's got this payment plan and nobody's going to do anything to him. It's worse than it's ever been. He has a formal cease and desist order that he has ignored, and you had better believe they're collecting evidence on the money that Umar Johnson is bringing in. If Umar Johnson even gets cash money, let's say, for example, that's not going to matter. Any money that Umar gets online can be tracked. And I want to say something else out there. How do you know that people are not going to these hyena yelps in their plants? How do you know you don't have the IRS up in there? How do you know you don't have an auditor from one of these tax entities from the city or county and state sitting up in the audience? How does Umar Johnson know that he is not being tracked and he's being recorded about asking for money in public because he's doing it online? Just because they didn't immediately respond to Umar's refusal to respond to the cease and desist order, which means he needs to register, officially register the nonprofit with the state. And registration is not just signing a piece of paper with your name on it. They ask for information, the kind of information that Umar Johnson never wants to give because he doesn't have it. Basically, information that you're legit, that you have records, that you have accountability with the nonprofit. Umar Johnson doesn't have any of that because that's not what he's running. He's running a scam. And when you're running a scam, you don't have legit information to present. Sometimes you have no information to present. He's living off this situation. Bottom line, he's collecting donations and he should not be collecting donations. And he's not covering himself by saying if he want to send a personal donation, they can still and look at the money and see where the money comes in and how the money is spent. People saying stuff like Umar Johnson is going to Africa. Umar Johnson doesn't have any money. If you have to sit around and wait, it's the equivalent of living paycheck to paycheck. But don't beat up on those people living paycheck to paycheck because they're making an honest living. They're just trying to take care of their families. Who's faulting them for that? Umar is not even taking care of any business. He's just existing. He's just collecting money to continue to travel around, but he is not addressing responsibilities that he needs to address unless he is brought to his knees by the white man and he runs up and gets a canned interview so he can clear the bench warrant. I mean, who wants to be in the position to be supporting this overgrown welfare case? This is sickening. Overgrown welfare case. Umar Johnson getting this money primarily from single black mothers with school-aged children. It's not changed, except for the fact you have these agencies bearing down hard on Umar. So anybody out there that wants to post Umar Johnson videos, they're just posting videos to collect money. Fine, collect money. They don't give a crap about what's happening to our community. They're just up here complaining about Umar Johnson and how he looks and what's he's. Who cares about that if it's not attached to what is happening to our people? See, that is the part that people would get so pissed off with me and Gerald about. They wanted us just to talk about Umar so they can make money. No, we're not going to just talk about Umar so you can make money. If we want to talk about other issues, we are. Doesn't mean we're not addressing the Umar Johnson situation, not on YouTube. Because we know what was going on with Let Me See Your Handcuffs. She was planning to try to hijack every video we made and eat money off of it. Every single video she wanted to put on her channel, like she's doing right now. She's sharing all these videos. Where's her freaking content? She doesn't have any content. Umar doesn't have any content. Umar Johnson is simply repeating the same garbage that he has for how many years? And he's not even current on his so-called credentialing requirements. You have to receive ongoing training. Would you want your child, or would you want to go to a doctor who doesn't get his or her continuing education training, who never gets additional support or consultation, who never has to take any other classes? You just get a medical license and that's it. You want to be treated by somebody like that? You want your family treated by someone like this? Well, that's Umar Johnson. He's up here running around making statements totally and completely false about special education. He had a person on one of his Hyena Yelp interviews and referring to he works with autistic children. You don't use the term autistic children. It's autism spectrum, and you don't label people by their diagnosis. He doesn't even speak properly. He's so out of touch. He is so far out of the loop. He doesn't use current terms because it's demonstrating he hasn't had any training in well over 5 years. The requirement is 36 hours of continuing ed, the minimum. This is the law in Pennsylvania. 35 hours in a 5-year period. And a lot of people get more training than that. Umar didn't get any training, and he tried to get an exemption. He tried to get an exemption while he's flying around all over the place, making money to support his legal issues, getting money to eat and survive. That's all he's doing. He didn't take any time to get any training. So how in the hell can Umar Johnson say anything about special ed when he hasn't had any training in more than 5 years on anything? Well over 5 years. And he wants an exemption? He had no exemption to qualify for it. He was denied. His shit is not even current, and you're listening to a fool who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. You can't have a title and do nothing else with it and call yourself knowledgeable. He is not knowledgeable. And proof of that, he has to keep lying. And we're dealing with that too, people. He has to keep lying about being a therapist. What is the reason you have to lie about being a therapist? Because he knows he's inadequate and he doesn't have the information or knowledge about what he's supposed to have. So what does he do? I'm a therapist. I'm a psychologist. The goal is to shut people up. And what he says is so far out of the realm of ethical, responsible duties with respect to mental health. He has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, the same old crap about medication. But we're going into a new situation. We have other agencies making damn sure Umar is going to be held accountable. It is just a matter of time. So he can get on here and bloviate and say, I'm not going to be listening. He's going to be listening. He's going to be brought exactly where he needs to be brought, to his knees. He's going to be shut down and he's going to be ordered by a court to cease asking for donations. The first step has already occurred. You cannot ignore a cease and desist letter and think it's going to go away. It is not going away. Umar Johnson will be held accountable. He is just riding the wave, living day by day. Now, I'm going to be coming on to give more information about what's happening with Umar. Umar is incriminating himself all over again. Look, people, I can go on for a very long time. There's so much I gotta say, so much I have to catch you up on. But at this point in time, I'm going to make sure I leave you with, don't touch that dial. Stay tuned because there's a lot more coming down the pike. In the meantime, never forget to heed the warning. Buyer beware.